Pleasure to be here. Great to see everybody. Thanks for coming. It's been a great 48 hours, some of the greatest hours of my life, traveling with these people all over. We just went over, I picked them up at the airport on Friday, and then Saturday we drove over to Bend, over the mountain, and showed them the desert. And we had a great talk last night in Bend, and drove over this morning, stopped at Timberline Lodge. So it's just been fantastic being here, you know. What really attracted me to these two amazing women initially was just, I'm a sucker for selfless work, you know, people that really go out of their way. They're not in this project for money. They're in it for doing something right in the world. And it's amazing to see them work. You know, in the early days of the war, so many people left Ukraine. But what was amazing to me and what stood out to me about Marta and Oksana was that, one, they decided to stay. They had a brief conversation of leaving, but they didn't do that, but they decided to help out and do something amazing in Lviv. It's so hard to start a business or an organization in the best of times, but doing it in the fog of war when the economy's disrupted, the food system's disrupted, how they did it, I think, is one of the best stories that's happening in the world today. And I'm sure you'll be interested in hearing their story, so let's welcome Marta Oksana and Oksana Komient.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, and thank you all guys for coming. Today we are going to tell a story about how is it to be vegan in Ukraine before the war and how is it during the war, which is obviously different.
On this slide you can see some pictures from our basic life before the full-scale war. We are sisters, we are living together, running small family handcraft business together. We live with the cutest cats, and we love traveling a lot and cooking a lot, and our life was really calm and mostly positive. As we are both vegans, since 2017 we were doing some vegan activities, as most likely every vegan does.
And let's take a quick look how veganism looks in Ukraine. This is a survey made by Kyiv Sociological University for Open Cages NGO. And our goal as vegan activists was to make this 2% amount as big as possible. And for this purpose, we were organizing a wide range of different activities, from street actions to some small screenings. And our events was both for vegans and non-vegans, because it was always important for us to build a community and to build connections among the vegans in Ukraine and in general, and our small city in particular.
This picture, as you see, was made only 2 days before the full-scale war started. It's us in the middle and our vegan friends from Lviv. And the place we were meeting at was a cute vegan restaurant in the center of Lviv. This restaurant was called Vegaroom, and it was going out of business in a matter of few days. So we decided to meet there and thank them for good memories and to spend some time together. And as you see from the text on the picture, most of people from this picture, since the war started, they switched to volunteering, and about half of our friends are now serving in the Ukrainian armed forces. And of course, back then we were already talking about war about to start in a matter of few days, but we hoped it's not going to, and we didn't realize that the experience of activism and organizing some events and some places, and the connections we made in the vegan community all over the world are going to play a huge role in our life since the war started.
First of all, why do we say a full-scale war, not just a war? Because Russian aggression in Ukraine was started back in 2014, when Crimean Peninsula and part of Donetsk and Luhansk regions were occupied by Russians. But at February 24, our life changed completely because, as Oksana said, we were not ready as individuals, and our country was not ready for that. And the natural reaction of most of people was to run away as soon as possible. And we were thinking about this with Oksana as well, but we had 30 minutes to decide that we are staying because we were thinking about all the people who may need our help, lonely people, homeless people, and animals. And this is why we decided to stay and to be as helpful as we can.
One of the pictures from the chaos of a few days of war. So we live in Lviv, and it's one of the safest cities in Ukraine now. Our first week of full-scale war was really chaotic as well, because we didn't know what to do and our work stopped. The post was not working, bank was not working, and we were just waking up in the morning and walking through the city and looking for some opportunities to volunteer. We were volunteering at the production of dry food for military and making masking nets for military as well. We tried to do some online activities like connecting information that might be useful for refugees. And as you can see on this slide, Lviv is one of the most western regions of Ukraine. So there's been really a lot of volunteer work to do, because most of the people from all over Ukraine who decided to relocate to other regions of Ukraine, they chose Lviv as the most safe and the closest to Europe. And as well, people who decided to move abroad, they had to go through this city. So one day, February 28, we decided that maybe we can make some work at the railway station, because a lot of people were arriving every half an hour, every 12 minutes. There was a lot of evacuation buses and trains as well, and there were thousands of people, and we decided to go to the night shift to maybe serve some food and tea to the refugees, and to help people to find some contacts where they can host, who they can call, who will take them, who will help them to get abroad. But when we arrived, we realized that there's barely something we can do, because you can't serve food if there's no food, and you can't share information if it was not collected by anyone. And the place was really chaotic. Looks like the city didn't try to help, and the people didn't organize enough by that time. The people were arriving every half an hour, and there was a curfew overnight, so the people couldn't leave the railway station, and we couldn't leave it as well. And because of these huge amounts of people, and because of the place being so loud and dirty, and thousands of people and animals, and everyone was stressed and crying, and I had a panic attack, the worst I ever had. I realized I can't handle war, I can't be useful, I can't get through it, and I ended up hiding under the table in the corner of the railway station. Marta is a stronger sibling, so she managed to take me home. So there was a curfew and we were not allowed to leave. And by the morning, we realized that if we find these conditions too difficult for us to handle for even few hours, then how difficult it might be for the refugees themselves during these days and days they spent on the road. And we realized if we want something to be done better and more organized, and if we are looking for vegan options, and like if we want it to be done better, we have to try and do it by ourselves. And what I was saying about the contacts and vegan community, that's when we realized that we are actually not alone. We have a lot of friends. I have a small experience of working at the restaurant. So we started calling everyone and trying to organize something. We were really ambitious, and that's what happened the next day.
Looks like we became owners of a vegan place in the center of the city overnight, because have you noticed that this place is the same that we were hanging out with our friends before the war, because it was going out of business, and we managed to hire their kitchen, hire their place, and we started to serve food next day after the idea appeared. Oksana was cooking and I was doing some management stuff and communications, and also the picture on the right, we were delivering food to the same railway station every day during a couple of weeks until the amount of people arriving reduced. And what is important about this place is it's not only about the food, it's about a safe space, because as Oksana mentioned that places where refugees are coming in Lviv are really chaotic, they are really crowded, and we were trying to create a safe space for them. I remember one woman, our guest, during the first weeks of war, and she said that our place was the first place where she smiled after the war started. And it was very important for me that we were successful at creating a safe space for them.
One of the biggest problems we faced when we started serving food to the refugees is that in the chaos of first few weeks of full-scale war, we had a lot of issues with food supplies. One of the problems was that infrastructure was damaged a lot by the missile strikes themselves, and as well by the chaos, by a lot of people moving abroad and not enough workers on the factories and in the supermarkets, and the shelves were half empty during, I think, first month of war. And the products that were at the supermarkets, they were bought by people in a matter of few hours because no one knew what to expect, and people were really buying everything they could, all the food and all the hygiene products. And as well, we had food supplies issues because biggest vegan brands were located in that specific regions of Ukraine that suffered the most from Russian military aggression. The biggest one, Vegetus, was their facilities were completely demolished by the missile strike. They had to shut down for some time and then relocate to Czech Republic. And one more brand is now under the occupation. So we had a lot of problems with food supplies, but we managed to get enough products and to feed everyone, and that's how.
We were lucky to build connections with vegans from all over the world, thanks to attention Western media paid to our cause. And the first big article about us was the one in The Independent. And thanks to this, we built a lot of connections all over Europe with such big brands as Lush, Vegans, The Economist, and many, many others. And they delivered really big vans of vegan food to help us to serve vegan meals. And also, as Oksana said, that Ukrainian producers of vegan food were suffering from shellings. We were buying meat alternatives, plant-based meat in Poland for some time, but now we return to supporting local businesses as much as we can.
Our day at the kitchen started at 8 a.m. most of the days. I was cooking. Marta at the same time was shipping parcels with humanitarian aid to civilians and military. Then we were both volunteering as waitresses and serving food to the refugees. And after the working day at the kitchen was over, we were going home and doing the remaining work like online stuff, fundraising, collecting requests from people for the parcels, and doing interviews and online interviews. And it was really difficult, but we were really motivated and we didn't feel tired.
And which is also important that we had a big team of volunteers as well. We had a professional vegan chiefs, drivers, and we were not alone.
Yeah, the team was growing all the time, but as well was growing the amount of requests we received. And by the middle of April, we were serving from 500 to 700 of meals every day. And the place we rented back then, Vegarum restaurant, it was too small for such a big amount of people and that big amount of food. And we didn't have enough place to ship parcels. And it started to become a little bit chaotic. And we don't like when it's chaotic and when people are forced to stand in the queue. So when the things started growing really fast, we found much bigger place with separate room for dishwashing and few rooms for like collecting parcels and everything. And now for already a year, we are renting this much bigger place where much more people can sit at the same time. And now that's how it looks.
What's interesting that you can see same amount of people on both pictures, because there's still a lot of refugees in Lviv. And what's interesting about this place is that it is located in kind of office buildings, and many of office workers are going to, like they are visiting us and eating for donation, which is good and helps us to operate. But as well, I like this because I'd like refugees to be closer to locals and locals to be closer to refugees, because obviously sometimes people are not friendly. And I'm happy about these office people coming to eat for donation because they have a chance to know some refugees in person, which can help to build connection and for people to feel like home, I hope. And last summer, with help of Seth and with help of Seattle restaurant Chimin Tofu and the Well-Fed World, we bought a car, which helped us a lot. And thanks to that, we were allowed to ship more than 150 parcels a week, which is a big amount, but still not enough, as you will see later.
As I already mentioned, we are shipping humanitarian parcels to civilians and same to vegans in the armed forces, on the front lines, in the territorial defense. And we are being asked really often if someone needs it, if there are vegans in the armed forces, but of course they are. And a lot of our friends are now serving at the armed forces. And from what they told us, it's really difficult to stay well-fed and to stay healthy vegan. Of course, they don't want to stop being vegan. They don't want to switch to animal food, and they can't. They will feel bad both physically and mentally if they eat food they consider cruel and unethical. So in the first days of full-scale war, we noticed there's a problem with well-balanced vegan food in both territorial defense and on the front line, and we decided to fill this request as well. And for now, we shipped about 700 parcels to the armed forces that covered the needs of 2,500 of vegans in the armed forces. That's our protein bars we produced by ourselves at Lviv Vegan Kitchen. We wanted to come up with something, with some compact, small food, which will be high in calories and in protein to help people stay well-fed and well-nourished. So we decided to make protein bars. They consist of dried fruits, nuts, and plant protein. And we are mostly shipping them to vegans in the front line who have no possibility to eat twice or 3 times a day. I think they are really useful for them.
And we were saying at the beginning that Lviv is quite safe, but obviously it is safe only comparing to eastern or northern cities. Some of them are attacked every day. Lviv was attacked by missiles 32 times, and here are some of the most awful ones. The target of most attacks took place from last autumn was critical infrastructure. This is why our lives changed last autumn, and we have to get used to a new reality because we had access to power only during 8 hours a day. And this was challenging for a kitchen as well, and for any business and anyone in Ukraine, I guess. We set up an urgent fundraiser and collected money for power generator and for, I guess, a tank you see on the picture. And we managed to continue work during all winter without any delays, any stops. People were full and happy during all the winter, which I'm proud of, that even disposable dishes we used were organic, and we were not using plastic. And I'm very happy that we managed to go through this winter. And as we say in Ukraine, as we went through this winter, we are going to go through anything. So yeah, Vegan Kitchen survived.
That's one more branch of our work at the Lviv Vegan Kitchen. This winter, at the same time when power outages started, we decided to try and join to some humanitarian missions to the front lines and to less safe regions of Ukraine to deliver more food. Some of our friends were going to the frontline regions to deliver generators and medications for soldiers, and we joined by collecting requests for vegan food and delivering it as well. And one of our missions was fully organized by Lviv Vegan Kitchen. It was Christmas mission to Kherson, which was liberated by Ukrainian armed forces last autumn. It was under the occupation for about half a year, and I thought once it was liberated, it's done and everyone is happy and life is calm and back to normal. But then I saw photographs and I realized that basically every building is either damaged or completely demolished, and people couldn't get a proper job when they were under the Russian occupation. They were oppressed badly. Their houses were murdered, and we decided to maybe make a little Christmas miracle and, I don't know, bring some positivity and visit them in person.
I think you've heard about Bakhmut. It is a city on the east of Ukraine which was attacked by, unsuccessfully attacked by Russians during a couple of months, and we organized and joined a couple of humanitarian missions there. And here's some funny trip moments. We were trying to heat pizza on the car engine, which was not successful, but at least it looks funny. And you can see some holiday Christmas lights, in the car. So we were trying to bring some joy to this city, which suffered so much. And we are moving to the most satisfying slides, I guess, about how many work was done.
As you see, for now, we shipped 2,000 humanitarian parcels to civilians, and as I already mentioned, we shipped about 700 parcels for the armed forces. But what sounds not that satisfying is that for now we collected about 50 to 60,000 of requests from people. Of course, not of these requests are from vegans, but as the time goes by and people are getting tired, and organizations like ours, like food relief organizations, are going out of business, if you can call it that way. They stop working, and our kitchen is vegan, but it's like the only place where refugees can eat, basically. Back then, when the war started, we were one of the many, but now we are maybe the only place that left. And I don't know any other organization to ship that much of humanitarian parcels, so big part of requests are like, we are receiving much more of a requests than we can cover, but with the help of people from all over the world, we have a chance to slowly but surely cover these needs and close these requests.
And what I like most about this place is that it is big enough to host events, and the pictures you can see is the social kitchen projects where refugees from Berdyansk, it's on the east of Ukraine, they are cooking food to serve for other refugees. And also some integrational events took place, and I'm as a vegan, I think every vegan should organize at least one meeting on their life. So I like organizing events so much, and I'm very happy about that. And I'm happy when refugees are feeling that they are welcomed in our city. I have some quotes from non-vegan refugees who tried vegan food in our place for the first time. And they were visiting like for during, I don't know, a couple of months or half a year. And here what they say: we are vegans now thanks to you. Or I couldn't imagine that vegan food can be so tasty, and I don't want to eat meat anymore. Our goal was, from the beginning, was not to educate people in veganism. We wanted to help existing vegans to stay vegan. But surprisingly, people are going vegan thanks to our kitchen, which is also impressive. Here you can see a QR code which leads to our website, and of course there's plenty of ways to help, not only donation. You can share information, and you can subscribe to our Patreon. Any help will be appreciated, and thank you so much for your attention. Нормально? Може, вкладемося? Thank you. Потім розберемося.
Thank you so much.